Hello to what seems to be a intense but very fun fantasy league. My name is Rick. I'm going to be doing a draft recap for you all in three installments. The first one's going to be round 1 and 2. The other two are going to cover the rest of the round, with the final one also serving as a overall draft recap. For my credentials, don't have anything legally, but informally, just another fantasy obsessed person. It's not really meant to say that I know more about fantasy than all of you. It's more so I am the only objective person to be talking about your league that hopefully you've been exposed to, unless you somehow have fans or spouses that you make listen to all your fantasy drama. But I'm actually someone who does care about the fantasy drama. I love it. Some of your drama has leaked to me, and I've enjoyed following along. And yeah, it's a really interesting league. I do this a good amount. I've done my own league for years, but I started doing other leagues last year. And of the 10 leagues I've done so far, this is the most unique scoring. And I feel like it's the most engaged league that I've seen so far as it seems like people are very into it, given the amount of work that goes into both conferences and the way you guys have your league structure. With all that being said, the format of this video, and this is the longest introduction I've ever done, but the format of this video is going to be, I'm going to go team by team, not in crazy detail, but just enough, and I'm going to be recapping the picks, give my thoughts really quickly, and then give you a grade up to this point. It's very possible for you to get a D for the first 2 rounds, but recover, because I am a firm believer that late rounds actually yield the winners in fantasy leagues, but you're obviously in a worse position if you have a bad first couple rounds. But with all the injuries, the worst second round picks sometimes end up being pretty quality. So with that being said, I'm still going to have very strong opinions, as if this is dictating how the rest of the season is going to go. And with all that being said, let's get started. So the first team is a team that had the first pick, and it's crazy ass Mexicans. They pick Mahomes and then Eckler in the second round. So the first pick's the most interesting of the draft. Not in normal leagues, but in Superflex, it's fascinating because you have a very difficult decision, and I think it's a clear one, too, between McCaffrey and Mahomes. Most ratings have it that way, and that's the way I see it as well. I would go McCaffrey, but there's a very strong case for Mahomes. I think more people actually believe Mahomes is the guy. The reason I go McCaffrey is I think quarterback's pretty deep this year, and obviously everyone has conversations around the gap between quarterbacks and the gap between the variability between running backs. Getting a top-tier running back is a little bit rarer. But in your defense, a lot of injuries at the running back position. So if you have the number 1 overall pick, and I believe you actually traded for it, I do understand wanting to get a guy who's reliable. It's a little bit safer, and the ceiling might be a little bit lower, in my opinion, than what you could get out of McCaffrey versus, the next best running back or whatever the RB2's available next in the third round when you come up again. So yeah, with all that being said, I go McCaffrey, but definitely understand it. I also understand it because there was going to be a quarterback run. The way in Superflex, quarterbacks go early and you have a long time before your next pick. So instead of wanting to be stuck with maybe a Tannehill or whatever it might be that comes around to you, I mean, Mahomes is a lot sexier than Tannehill. So I definitely understand it. But again, running back instead of McCaffrey, you're looking at much less exciting guys as well. I do like Eckler in the second round is the last point I'll make. I'll talk quicker on this pick. I think you got your receiving back that you wanted in a half-point PPR. That's why I like McCaffrey so much in half-point PPR, but you got your guy, and it's just another guy who's injury-riddled, but any RB could get injured, so I don't like over-anchoring on banking on injuries, so I actually do like the Eckler pick, although I like Davante Adams. That's going to be a theme throughout this video. I know people are worried about Rodgers. I think he's back with Green Bay, and I think Davante's the best wide receiver I've seen in my life. And I think he's going to do it again this year. So overall, I think the trade you made to get to the first pick is worth it because you get a guy like Mahomes. And your grade is a B+. And that's going to be the longest team I talk about just because I thought there were some interesting dynamics at number 1. The next team is D's Nuts. I do want to make a note that I've recapped again about 10 leagues. I think 7 of them had a team named D's Nuts. So I can't give you any creativity points. The amount of time I said D's Nuts doing recaps is honestly embarrassing, and I'm reconsidering my career. And this is not my career at all. It's so far from my career. But if it paid enough, oh my gosh. I'd have to do 1,000 recaps a day for it to pay enough. I do this mainly for fun. Okay, anyway, D's Nuts. I do not like how your draft went. I like CMC. I think you got a gift at number 2. I hate the Trevor Lawrence pick. And when I say hate, I mean I really hate it. I think it was the worst pick of the entire first 2 rounds. I'm going to go as far to say I think it's going to end up being the worst pick of the draft. There are other quarterbacks there. Not only are there other quarterbacks there, there are also the time you picked in the second round, there's only a few more picks till you go next. So you could absolutely wait for a quarterback until your third round pick and get a similar quality, I think better quality guy than Trevor Lawrence. And when I say better, I mean there's a list of guys I would consider. I think the obvious ones are Tannehill, given the weapons he has now, Stafford. I would go Matt Ryan, although I understand without Julio. I think Calvin Ridley has a gigantic year, and I think Kyle Pitts will be fantastic. And I would even consider Baker before Trevor Lawrence. I know you probably wouldn't make that pick, but just to show the depth there. And there's guys better than Baker that I didn't even mention. But all that to say, I give you a C+ because I think CMC carries the draft, and you might be able to get away with a bad Trevor Lawrence pick. I know quarterback's more important, and it's not a total bust. A guy like Trevor Lawrence probably, in my opinion, should be going late third, early fourth in a draft like this. But I do not like this pick. You get a C+ on the first 2 rounds. Moose Knuckles is next. Moose Knuckles took Dalvin Cook and Tom Brady. Dalvin is a pretty obvious pick. A lot of ways you could go that I'd be like, that's a good pick, but Dalvin, I think, is top of the list there. No analysis needed there. I think you might have panicked at quarterback. I think you would have had options when it came around back to you. I think he was the beginning of a tier of 5 to 6 guys, some of who I mentioned already, who I think are very similar quality. And most ratings, I believe, although I didn't really look closely at Superflex ratings, I would believe that they see it the same. So I don't think you had a rush there. Instead, I think you had the opportunity to grab some running backs that might not have been available anymore to have a dynamic 1-2 punch at running back. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about Chubb, I'm talking about Eckler, and I'm also talking about Devontae at wide receiver. Devontae would get a fantastic grade. Chubb would get a fantastic grade. Dalvin Eckler would get a fantastic grade. You'd still get a pretty good grade at B, because I do think Tom Brady is going to have at least a decent year. Pretty safe floor, in my opinion, with Brady. Not super exciting, but I think you still deserve a B given the running back you got in Dalvin Cook. Dansville Dogs. Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon. Interesting. I do like a running back heavy strategy early on. I'm a proponent of it. There's a lot of opinions. I'm of the belief that you get yourself top running backs. At the least, you're yielding yourself a ton of trade value. The reason I say that, Joe Mixon, a guy I traded for last year after his injury. So should have been the worst trade of all time, but I was able to flip him during his injury, because names like that are just come with trade value, that as long as there's hope he plays, you have a high floor in trade value. And that's why I think running backs are super valuable, because every team always ends up needing a running back. So let's talk about Mixon, because Derrick Henry kind of tells his own story. Although in half-point PPR, I obviously like him a little bit less than I would if it wasn't a PPR league. I'm not going to be as hard on the Mixon pick. I think this offense is really exciting. I think the Bengals could be one of those surprise teams this year. I think they will be one of the surprise teams this year. And I think that whole situation for Mixon, as far as the volume he's going to get, is pretty good. I actually didn't even Google this, but if I remember correctly, Giovanni Bernard's no longer on this team. Yes. I'm going to say that definitely. If I'm wrong, then there goes my credentials and my respect from you all. But I think he's going to be involved in the passing game. I think he's going to be very involved in the running game. I don't know anything about his injury, if it's from last season, if it's going to actually impair him. But everything I'm hearing is no. I'm just not an expert on injury, so I hate talking about it. I'm going to have to say that this could be one of those picks that you get laughed at when you make it, because there are probably guys in ratings that are higher, but that's actually going to end up being one of the better picks of the draft. I have a weird feeling Mixon's going to have a solid year. I don't see him as like a top 5 running back, but I could see him crack the top 10. I see him as a pretty safe top 15, top 20 guy, given the offense and the situation he's in. So you get a B-, given all that information. I know I've said a lot of good things, but I still spoke up Mixon only because my initial reaction was gross, and then I talked myself into it. I still think overall I wouldn't have went Mixon. So that's me contradicting myself there. Mile Heisman is next. Mile Heisman? Let's see if I got that name right. Mile Heisman. Well, yeah, that's it. Don't get it. Okay, don't know what that means. So, Josh Allen and Saquon. So, I know I just shot on your name a little bit, but dude, Saquon, where you got him is a steal. I don't know how he lasted that long. I think people are forgetting how unbelievably talented Saquon Barkley is. I think the Josh Allen pick I'll talk about first. I think you made the trade, I believe it was you that made the trade out of the first overall pick. And I think you did that because you knew you'd still be able to get a top quarterback that isn't that far below Mahomes. I'm a huge Mahomes guy, as everyone is. So I see a gap between Mahomes and then the next breed of Allen, Kyler, and Lamar Jackson. So I see a gap. So I don't know if I like the trade, to be honest, but you still got Josh Allen, so you can't really complain about it. I think I can make a case for Kyler or Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen, but I think you made the safer pick, and it's probably the right decision. Though I'd be very tempted at the other two personally, given their rushing abilities. I know Josh Allen has it too, but he's been rushing less and less, and I don't think he's going to run a ton this year, compared to like what he did earlier on. Anyway, I for your first pick would have considered Travis Kelce given full point PPR. I know that's crazy, but full point PPR for a tight end only, unless I have that rule wrong. That just makes the gap in tight end so significant between Kelce and the bunch. I actually think Kittle might be somewhat close, but Kelce, given the quarterback he has, I mean, I would have considered it. All that being said, you probably made the safer chalk pick there. And then to get Saquon in the second round, I don't know how he fell. I don't know if I'm missing something in the scoring, whatever it might be, but I think Saquon could be one of the steals of the draft, is the steal of the draft. And I'm giving you an A, just given, I think it fell in your lap, but I think you made the chalk picks on both of them, but I'm shocked that he fell out that far. I don't know what I'm missing. I think the Giants offense takes a step up. I don't think they're going to be able to stack the defensive line there. I think their passing game is going to be decent enough to free it up, and I think Saquon's going to be the leader of an offense that's going to be a top. I don't know. I'm going to throw out a number. I would be complete bullshitting. I think they're going to be a top half of the league kind of offense. Okay, one bourbon next. Risky strategy. Lamar Jackson and Aaron Jones. The reason I say risky is because Lamar Jackson is very risky, and I don't need to go too much into detail with that. And Aaron Jones, risky given the Aaron Rodgers situation and also given the A.J. Dillon situation. But I love your picks. I love taking risks. I love the ceiling on both these guys. I think Lamar has a very big year here. I think he's getting underdrafted, although in this league where you took him, you probably took him higher than most leagues would take him. But I think you took him where he kind of deserves to be in a league like this. And Aaron Jones, I think, is the most. Wow, I don't want to say something just to say it. He's a top 3 skilled running back in my opinion. I think he's really, really good. Anytime I watch him, I'm like, dude could do anything at that position. I love him. So given all that, I gave you a B+. There is a lot of risk here. That's why I can't go into the A category. But man, I'm excited. If I was you, I'd be the most excited to watch football out of any team, because those are some exciting players, exciting situations, fun to watch guys. And talking of fun to watch, talent and very talented players, Bad Hammy got Kamara and DeAndre Hopkins. Whew, man. There are some people who would really be hard on you for these picks because of the risk. Again, this is another risky kind of duo. I really like Kamara. His situation, of course, without Breeze, he performed way less efficiently without Breeze, but dude is the most talented running back. This is why I paused before saying Aaron Jones. Most talented running back in the NFL, in my opinion. The way he could stay up, his balance is ridiculous. I'm obsessed with him. I love him, and he won me my league last year, and that's why I'm saying it. But I think he's going to make anything work. I think they have the offseason to adjust to whoever their new quarterback's going to be. I don't even think he needs a good quarterback to be good, but I think the whole offense really revolves around Kamara, and I think more so this year than ever before. I think they're going to find ways to get him involved in every way they can, and dude scored 6 touchdowns for me, so I would give him a kiss if I could, and I'm straight. But I would do more than kiss him. No, I wouldn't. Maybe, I don't know. If he wins me another league this year, then definitely. Okay, DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is one of the steals of the draft this year as well. Another guy who didn't have an amazing season last season, but clearly is just ridiculously talented. But behind Devontae Adams, he's the most talented wide receiver in the league. Some people would say he's even more talented. I love his situation. I think Kyler Murray's going to have a huge year this year. I think the Cardinals are going to be incredibly good this year. I love DeAndre Hopkins' situation so much. I really think that's a great pick. I'm very excited about the Kamara-DeAndre Hopkins duo. I think you have the same level of excitement as one bourbon, but I think you have a little bit higher upside and even a higher floor, so just a little bit better on both ends, and I gave you an A-. End zoners are next with Travis Kelce, Aaron Rodgers. No running back is risky. Love the Travis Kelce pick. Full point PPR tight end. My goodness, you are going to just absolutely kill it at tight end. I mean, I'm new to this, so it's exciting to me. I'm sure you guys have dealt with Travis Kelce running your league over the past whatever years, as long as you've had the full point PPR in place. But my gosh, I already get so excited about him in the half point PPR. To get a full point for him when everyone else is getting half point at every other position, like, stresses me out how nice that is. It's so sick. And then on your second round, getting Aaron Rodgers, risky. Love it though. I think he's back in Green Bay, as I've said, and I think he's a fantastic quarterback because I know the same amount of football as the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who know just as much to say that, which basically what I'm trying to say is that you need to know very little to say that Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. He's going to get you a ton of points. I think you got to be excited about this. I'm very curious to see what happens for you at running back, because I am never, and I never will be until the day I die, a guy who doesn't take a running back in the first 2 rounds. But contradicting myself again, I give you an A- just because I like the first 2 picks so much. Field Marshals is next. You get Kyler and Dak. You go 2 quarterbacks. This goes off my theme I was just going on, but another 2 guys that I get it. I really get it. I love Kyler Murray this year, as I said, and the Dak Prescott I also like a ton. I think Dak's weapons are sneakily, potentially the best wide receiver group in the NFL. I think CD is going to go crazy this year. I shouldn't be giving these tips. Not that these are unique tips, but I shouldn't be sharing too much since your current draft is still going on. I don't want to bias the league because I know you all respect me so much that you're just jotting everything I'm saying down so you can take the pick. But yeah, Kyler, Dak, you're fantastic. I mean, you gotta really grind for some good running backs, wide receivers, but the way that this quarterback run went, you must be ecstatic, especially after the fact that quarterbacks went. By the time it's your pick, you're going to have some good running backs, wide receivers left, and I think it justifies the way you ran your draft, and that's why I gave you a B+. Risk involved, but I think a ton of upside. I love that you're not going to have to stress about your quarterback. I think you're set up really well to be a good team, but your next round picks are gigantically important, more so than most other teams. All I Do Is Win is next with Ezekiel Elliott and Matt Stafford. This was a bad first 2 picks. And of course, it's just my opinion, but youch. Man, you probably hate me the way I started this. My whole vibe just changed. My whole vibe. Listen, I had Zeke last year. I think that offense is going to be a lot better, and I actually like Zeke. But a little bit of a reach, not so much. I kind of get it. I'm fine with that first round pick. I think he could work out well for you. They paid him a ton of money. He's in his prime, supposedly, although every time I watch him, he's just a little too slow for me. But I think he could work out for you. Matt Stafford, I cannot justify for the life of me. I'm high on Matt Stafford. I'm the one who defends Matt Stafford in conversations. I love his situation. I love his talent. But man, I just think he would have been there in the next round for you. And to go, I don't know, to go where you went, to go, I think, yeah, you went before Dak and Rodgers. To go before Dak is just, I have trouble with it, man. I have a lot of trouble with it. I just think you could have done better in that position, or I think you could have gotten him in your next pick, which is the biggest sin of drafts, is taking a guy who could be available next round. You know what? I'm going to disagree with myself. I think he wouldn't have been free. But I just think what I think I was meaning to say is the quality of Stafford would have been free. Anyway. Yeah, you're probably frustrated watching this. I was probably wrong on him being free. Anyway, I don't like it. I just don't like the pick. I think Dak or Rodgers is the pick there. So I don't know. I don't have anything else to say on that. Yeah. Okay. You wouldn't have gotten Stafford back. I just don't like the pick. Okay. You should have won quarterback. I'm saying a lot here. I'm processing my thoughts. It's good that you went quarterback, but I just wouldn't have taken Stafford. This is a summary of all that. I'm sorry for saying he would have still been around, because that was definitely wrong. Okay, next. Oh, so I gave you a D+, just to wrap that up. Sorry about that. I just don't like the quarterback pick, and I don't like the Zeke pick that much either. So yeah. Okay, I think most experts, not that I'm an expert, but I think most experts would say that's objectively the worst value picks. But hey, I am wrong so much, and if you end up winning this league, like, just send me a fuck you in my inbox. I deserve it. Okay, Fire Brigade is next. Your picks were Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert. So you went another quarterback duo, but when I compare this one to Kyler and Dak, I'm not as excited. If you went Russ and Dak, this would be an A-, but it's a B-, because I think Justin Herbert, as good as he is, as solid as he is, he's not at that level. I don't think he's at that level yet. So yeah, I mean, B- isn't bad. I think you're set up to still be a good team. I think you're set up to have a top quarterback duo, but you better be, given your first 2 picks being quarterback. But going into rounds where you have no skill positions yet, I just wouldn't feel good having Russell Wilson and Herbert as my 2 guys, knowing that that's what I sacrificed. Although all season I'd be amped that those are my 2 quarterbacks, so they're 2 very good quarterbacks. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a closer to the first half of last season year than what he was doing in the second half of this season, for what that's worth. That's why I gave it a B-. I think you're going to see a lot of success at the quarterback position, just not enough to justify going QB. Not done yet is next. And the final team, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I mean, I don't love this either. I like the Tyreek pick. So I'm gonna say good job with Tyreek, but I would go quarterback here, being Dak Prescott most likely, or Aaron Rodgers, probably Dak Prescott. You could have went Herbert too, but I like Dak more out of that group of three. I think the reason I say that is quarterback's not going to be super valuable by the time it comes back to you. So I see that same argument you can make for running backs, and that like, oh well, there's not going to be a great running back. I think you'd have pretty good running backs left. But I understand the rush to get quarterback. But Jonathan Taylor, there's just so many. He had such a low percentage of carries relative to all other RB1s. And I think they're still going to use other RBs. Also, the offense is a lot different. I don't know what it's going to look like with Wentz. I just don't love the pick. To be your first round pick, I wouldn't sleep well at night. I give you a C+. I don't think it was an awful first two picks. I mean, having running back, wide receivers are great balance. You're going to still get decent quarterbacks. Because my commentary on your quarterback run is that I think there were some reaches for quarterback personally, and I still think there's value at quarterback. So that's why I'm not being so hard on the people going quarterback only. Sorry, not on no quarterback. But yeah, I mean, I just keep looking at these two names, and it's not enough for me to be like to be amped if I'm you. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's everything. We'll see what happens with everything. Don't know why that's for every team. I just said we'll see. Okay. Then, to complete all of it, you got a C+. I don't know if I said that yet. The final note here, and I don't know. This is a long video, I think, so I'm just losing my mind. So, finally, the vote. What's been happening? I'm only covering the first two rounds, but I know what's happened in round 3, so I need to comment on it. As I understand it, unless I have any facts incorrect, Davante Adams was the pick, but immediately wanted to be rescinded. There was no rule yet, which I'm surprised by in a league like this that has so many rules that there wasn't a rule on that. But hey, we grow every year. The league votes, and the league votes that he could rescind the pick. So, and now everyone's upset about it, or someone's upset about it, is a summary that I understand. So my first comment is, I don't know how there's not a rule about this, but it is so clear to me, especially in a slow draft league, where you have 24 hours to make a pick. It is unbelievably clear that once the pick is in, it's in. You don't see the Jets, and as much as I wish as a Jets fan they could do this, you don't see them going back and saying, we are got to take that pick back. I wish the NFL allowed that. It's fantasy, but we got to mirror where we can, and this is the clearest, easiest way to say, you know what, once a pick is in, it's in. But all that being said, the league voted and allowed it to be rescinded. So any complaining after that is not justified, especially if I think the person who's upset is actually the person who was included in the vote. Once it's taken, it doesn't matter who's taken next. This is so clear to me as an object. This is why we need an objective person. Once it's voted, saying a word is not cool. Reminder, fantasy doesn't really matter. We just do this shit for fun. So if anyone's actually mad or like being like, oh, Rick, you're wrong, it doesn't fucking matter. But at the same time, it matters. And the pick's in, and the votes are in, you got to stick with it. I do think y'all need to establish right now that moving forward, once a pick's in, it's in. I would not go with the vote as far as a president that you're down to now move for, but in this case, if you voted on this case, you got to stick with it. Super clear to me. So with all that being said, that's the first two rounds. Open to feedback, open to thoughts, whatever you're looking for. I'm just doing this for fun. So always happy to do what's exciting for you all. But yeah, that's your objective opinion. It's only one opinion, but it's the only objective one you got. So you got to take it as the truth. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed night. Be safe. Be healthy. Signing out.